With over 1,500 spirits now available in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, let's take a look at the origins and justifications behind these collectible characters. The intrepid, fearless and diminutive Captain Olimar of the SS Dolphin first made his appearance in 2001's Pikmin for the Nintendo GameCube. The game itself was spawned from a tech demo called Super Mario 128, an obvious pun on Super Mario 64, with footage of scores of Marios running around all at once on a single screen, made to show off the technical prowess of the new console's processing capabilities. After going through a few changes, including briefly becoming a game where you played as the Abrahamic god and controlled Adam and Eve as they populated the Earth, the core essences would be carried over and implemented into the creature crowd controlling title we know today. Since Pikmin has its origins in Super Mario, it only seemed appropriate for the lead of this new game to be based off Mario 2, with Olimar's name in Japanese being Orima, an anagram of Mario, also sharing the large nose and red coloration with the mascot plumber. In the original game, Olimar, on his return home from an interstellar vacation and much needed time away from his family, has his spaceship struck by a meteor, causing him to crash land on planet PNF 404. With the SS Dolphin a veritable wreckage and essential parts scattered across this alien world, it's Olimar's mission to locate them all and repair his ship within 30 days before his life support system fails. Thankfully, he comes across the native Pikmin, a friendly species of creature that follow Olimar's orders and are able to help keep the planet's native fauna at bay whilst finding and retrieving the lost parts of the ship for repair, aiding to Olimar's survival. This veteran spacefarer, under the employ of Hocotate Freight, would go on to appear in every mainstream Pikmin title, having returned to the distant planet in Pikmin 2 to help recover treasures to bail out his employer's debts, and making an appearance in Pikmin 3 as a side character, whose motives get looked into further in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, as having to re-return to the planet to bail out the president of Hocotate Freight once again. Olimar was introduced as a fighter in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, where he utilises the power of the Pikmin to rain havoc on his foes, and has appeared as a playable character in every Smash Bros. Game since. The artwork for his Smash Ultimate Spirit is taken from the spin-off title Hey Pikmin for the 3DS. A departure from the formula of the core games, it sees you controlling Olimar on a 2D adventure as he strives to collect the jettisoned fuel from his most recent planetary crash, this time on a new world, however still similar to that of planet PNF 404. Once again calling upon the help of the friendly Pikmin, Olimar must collect the Sparklium that is scattered across the globe in hopes of piloting his new ship, the SS Dolphin 2, back to his waiting wife and 2 kids. Due to him being a playable character, his spirit is earned through completing Classic Mode. Olimar and his fellow Hocotatians aren't the only explorers who've attempted to tap PNF 404's bounty to help with their homeworlds. In Pikmin 3, a trio of plucky explorers travel from Kapai, 279,000 light years away, in order to harvest the planet's fruit resources and bring back the seeds to help feed its ever-expanding population. Subpar planning for agricultural distribution and an overindulgence in food have led to this being their last-ditch attempt for the survival of their species. The youngest of the three to land, or rather, crash land on the planet is Alph, the ship's engineer. After finding himself separated from the rest of his crew, he reunites with the SS Drake, the intergalactic spaceship built by his grandfather, and goes about to get the team back together and relocate the now missing cosmic drive key, the metaphorical and literal key for their return back to Kapai. Standing at 1.6 centimeters, he is the smallest of the crew, but his stature doesn't affect his capabilities, as he's able to keep the spaceship in peak condition, as well as show his prowess as a tactician by eventually bringing the crew back together and ultimately retrieving the resources and items necessary for the future of his home planet. Being one of 15 brothers and sisters, he knows how to be around large groups of people, and that's why he's right at home as being a playable character introduced in Super Smash Bros. 4, and continuing in Ultimate, being accessed as an alternate skin for Olimar, sharing the same moveset and command over the Pikmin themselves. Since he's an alternate for a playable character, his spirit is purchased from the Vault Shop for 300G after unlocking Olimar in the World of Light campaign, with the artwork taken from his first, and so far only, appearance in Pikmin 3. Olimar wasn't always alone in facing the perils on the Pikmin's planet. In the second game in the series, he was joined by the Hocotate Freight's newest employee, Louie, and since Olimar was named after Mario, it makes perfect sense for his new partner to be named after Mario's partner, Luigi. The entirety of the events of Pikmin 2 lay at the feet of Louie. His first job was to deliver a precious shipment of gold Pick carrots. However, he lost the cargo after being attacked by a ravenous space bunny. To cover the losses, the president of the Hogatate Freight Company had to take out a substantial loan, and the only way to repay it would be the selling off of the company and all its assets, until it's discovered that the random items on the planet Olimar has just returned from are considered treasures, and so off the pair go to collect and hopefully pay off the 10,000 Pokos debt. It's later revealed, however, that the ravenous space bunny was merely a fabricated ruse. It was Louie who ate the gold Pick shipment. It was he who caused all this trouble. Though appearing quite quiet and meek, there's a lot in Louie's past that affect his actions in the present. He was raised by his grandmother, who made sure that he ate everything on his plate, and for him to play on a hill behind the house where his gran forced him to eat plants and bugs. This gastro-trauma has paved the way for him being a gourmand, creating recipes of fine cuisine to draw the envy of others, but also to provide him with an insatiable appetite, which is shown when he makes an appearance as a non-playable character in the main story of Pikmin 3. After being found in a deep sleep, induced by his spacesuit as a way of protection when faced with danger, he is brought back to the SS Drake by the trio of Copates, before running out the next morning having stolen their entire juice ration, effectively leaving them destitute and doomed to starve. This reckless behaviour is mirrored in how you obtain Louie as a spirit, through summoning by combining the cores of Snorlax and the Postman from The Legend of Zelda. Snorlax because of its propensity to always be sleeping, much like Louie's deep sleep when found, and the Postman for his quick sprinting, the way Louie ran off with the entire crew's food rations. His spirit artwork is of that from his first appearance in Pikmin 2. Every crew needs a captain, and when it comes to the Copates in Pikmin 3, that title was bestowed to the burly, mustachioed, mohawked Charlie. When the SS Drake hits trouble upon entering PNF 404's atmosphere, the passengers are ejected to different points across the globe, with Charlie landing face down in the snow of the distant tundra. After a brief stint taking control of the local yellow Pikmin and being eaten by a behemoth Phosbat, he resumes his role as captain of the crew as they look for salvageable fruit and their means of getting home. A courageous chap, he has a distinguished career, bequeathed with medals from his time as a space ranger in his youth, and is considered one of Kapai's greatest legends, making him the perfect choice to carry the fate of his people's survival. He has a fondness for ducks, displaying quite a prolific knowledge about them, with a pet duck named Elizabeth waiting for him back at home whom he considers his soulmate. He also brings along a rubber duck as a good luck charm for the mission, so you can imagine his dismay when it gets stolen by a scarpering Louie. Charlie, even though very steely and focused on the task at hand, also has a softer side, as it's shown he has a crush on one of his crewmates, Brittany, even if she is totally oblivious to these feelings. He is one of the 24 Master Spirits and will take a team of your choosing on an exploration through the caves to hunt for rewards. You earn him by battling 3 Alphs of varying colours. The first is a giant Alph bedecked in his green outfit, representing Charlie himself, being the largest of the crew and sporting the same colour scheme. There is also Alph as is, and a third wearing pink to represent the final member of the Copate trio, Brittany. The fight against the team takes place on the Garden of Hope stage, a course which appears in Pikmin 3, and with the music being the theme to the Pikmin 3 exclusive mission mode, it's all a callback to Charlie's first appearance. The abundance of the Hogatate bomb item and the slippery stage rule both mirror the first encounter with Charlie in the game, as he crash lands into the icy slippery terrain of the distant tundra. And finally, to round off the Copate trio is the brave botanist, Brittany. Her expertise are essential to the mission to safeguard the future of her planet, as it is she who can identify and catalogue which foodstuffs are safe for transportation and propagation back home. When she crash lands on PNF 404, she finds herself trapped, yet safe, just sleeping the day away until liberated and able to take command. Over the course of the expedition, she's able to take meticulous scientific notes on her observations and grows quite an affinity to the Pikmin themselves, being the leader whom they follow in the final showdown when attempting to save the unconscious Olimar. She is somewhat of a glutton, getting visibly excited when new fruit is discovered, and as the days go on, she laments over having to share the juice rations with her fellow crewmates, even portioning less to others so that she can take a bigger cut all for herself. Her naming follows the pattern of the first 4 letters, being A for Alph, B for Brittany, C for Charlie, and D for Drake, the spaceship. Alph because he is young and at the beginning of his life and the alphabet, Charlie, following the phonetic alphabet for his naming and thus highlighting his military background, the Drake after Sir Francis Drake, famed explorer, and Brittany is a corruption of botany, the field of science for which she has expertise in. Her artwork is from her first appearance in Pikmin 3 and you earn her through defeating her in the World of Light, via the Spirit Board, or purchasing from the Vault Shop for 6000 G. She is represented by her crewmate Alph, wearing his pink outfit, mirroring her colour scheme. The battle for her spirit takes place in the Garden of Hope stage, with the Garden of Hope remix playing as the title track, both references to where we first encounter Brittany in Pikmin 3. There are a number of allusions to her gluttonous nature in the course conditions, namely the tidal wave of food that appears, the items being pulled towards the enemy, and the increase in stats after eating, all harking back to how excited Brittany would get to eat and how she would pursue food whatever the cost, and the feeling of joy she got after finally managing to sate that appetite. The fact that battle is timed is also a show of how time passes in Pikmin 3, with a set amount of time before the day ends and the terrible nocturnal creatures come out. When she is acquired, Brittany's spirit ability is to be immune to gravity changes, referencing her being accustomed to being in space, and the changes in gravity from her home world of Kapai, which is 10 times stronger than what she would be experiencing on the world of the Pikmin. And now finally onto the creatures to whom the entire series of games is named after. The Pikmin are a species of creatures that have learned to survive and navigate the perils of PNF 404 and the other unnamed planet in Hey Pikmin. Characterized by their short statures and stems growing out of their head, adorned with a flower that goes through different stages of maturity, each of the different colours have a different ability that can be utilised to great potential within the course of the games. Red Pikmin are the first that are encountered, responding to Olimar's whistle after he crash lands on their turf in Pikmin 1. He bestows unto them the name Pikmin as they remind him of the pick carrots that he would enjoy back on Hocketate. Red Pikmin are better fighters than the rest, causing more damage in battle, and with their immunity to fire they can be a formidable force en masse, and perfect for bringing down creatures who use flames as their main form of defense. They are also representative of one of the 5 main senses, as all the Pikmin up until Pikmin 2 are, with the reds being smell, due to the fact that they are the only ones with a noticeable nose. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where they return again in the same fire-resistant, scrappy and taking no prisoners role that they had before. The spirit is obtained by battling it in the World of Light, via the Spirit Board, being purchased from the Vault Shop for 1000 G, or by scanning the Pikmin amiibo. Their representatives are a team of tiny Incineroars, a fire-type Pokemon known for its fighting prowess, the perfect embodiment of the Red Pikmin. Taking place in the Garden of Hope, a stage in Pikmin 3 where the Red Pikmin can be found, the course conditions are to have the floor as lava, with increased fire attacks, referencing the Red Pikmin and their immunity to all things fire. The music playing in the background is the main theme to the original Pikmin game, the same game these little ruby red fighters made their first appearance. A theme common across all the Pikmin spirits is for the battle to be a stamina battle, with very little health given, mirroring how the Pikmin have very little durability to attacks in the game, as it's more about overwhelming with numbers rather than with a singular force. When obtained, the Red Pikmin spirit gives you a lava floor resist ability, as you're taking on some of that fire immunity that they're known for. Continuing on with the tiny controllable creatures, the Blue Pikmin also debuted alongside their brethren in the original Pikmin game. Olimar stumbles across them in the Forest Naval Course, and he finds their onion in stasis, and then the home of the Pikmin springs to life and ejects one solitary seed. After Olimar helps save them from apparent extinction, they become a valued member of the team due to their ability to move and breathe underwater freely. Being the most rounded of Pikmin in terms of stats, they may not be the first choice for battle, but for all things aquatic, they've got your back. In addition to their gills, they also have a visible mouth, making them the representatives for the sense of taste. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where they are the last of the Pikmin to be discovered. In the process of stealing all of the crew's rations and running away, Louie manages to blow up a whole section of wall. How he does it is unknown, but this now opens up a brand new area in the Garden of Hope, and it's here that the Blue Onion is rescued from the Flukeweed, and the guild creatures can finally join the fray. To obtain their spirit, you can battle them on the Spirit Board, purchase them from the Vault Shop for 1000 G, or acquire through scanning the Pikmin amiibo. They're represented by a team of tiny Squirtles, since these water-type Pokemon shrunk down perfectly showcase these small water-type Pikmin whose spirits we're trying to liberate. Because of their water typing, in this battle the enemy are more resistant to water and ice attacks, and their own water and ice attacks are much more powerful. Once again, a stamina battle to show the Pikmin's little health. This time it's time to represent the passing of the day in the Pikmin games. The entire battle takes place on the Distant Planet stage, modelled after the Awakening Wood course in Pikmin 2, where we first encountered the blue Pikmin within that game, and the background music is the main theme to Pikmin 1, the blue Pikmin's debut. Once obtained, the Spirit's ability is for an increase in distance and power for thrown items, not referencing the original Pikmin games, but more so their appearance in Smash Bros, as they are the Pikmin that can be thrown the furthest by the player character in battle. Rounding up the original primary colour trio are the elfin-esque yellow Pikmin. They are first discovered by Olimar in the Forest of Hope course in Pikmin 1, and due to their lighter body mass are able to be thrown to much higher distances, making them the perfect resource to fetch out of reach items. Their ability to carry bomb rocks is also essential to the continuation of Olimar's mission, as it's the yellow Pikmin who can clear the way through stubborn fortified barriers. It wasn't until Pikmin 2 that their immunity to electricity was displayed. Usually an instant death for others, yellow Pikmin are able to pass through the static waves and bursts of lightning with ease, making them vital for tackling voltage. Their artwork is once again taken from Pikmin 3, where they are on scene to be the first contact of Charlie as he wakes up in the distant tundra. Not being able to identify them in a scientific way, the captain's military training kicks in, and he's able to rally the small clusters of the yellow creatures together to make his way into the shelter of a cave, before walking straight into danger. Apart from their bright colour, their most prominent feature are the two sticky outy ears that they possess, unlike any other Pikmin, making them the embodiment for the sense of hearing. These ears may also be key to some of the yellow Pikmin's prowess. Perhaps they act as wings and produce a small updraft, meaning they can be thrown higher and further, and the witness behaviour of being able to dig into the ground much faster than others of their kind may point to the idea of them using their ears as shovels. Their spirit is obtained through defeating them in the World of Light, on the Spirit Board, purchasing them from the Vault Shop for 1000G, or scanning in the Pikmin amiibo. Representing them in battle are a team of 12 tiny Pichus, in their ultimate costume of wearing a white flower behind the ear. These tiny electric Pokemon with large ears are the perfect vessels to channel these Pikmin spirits, and with their white flower they have a striking similarity to yellow Pikmin in full bloom. The background music is the main theme to Pikmin 1, the game the yellow Pikmin first appeared in, and the battle takes place on the Garden of Hope stage, another reference to their Pikmin 3 appearance. The course is electrified to showcase the yellow Pikmin's electricity immunity, and the Pichus starting with a screw attack and constantly jumping about mirrors the yellow Pikmin and their ability to be thrown through the air with ease. Once this stamina battle has ended and you've regained the spirit, the earned ability is energy shot and attack resistance, much like the resistance the yellow Pikmin have to energy attacks in the game. When Olimar and Louie returned to salvage treasures from this somewhat lucrative planet in Pikmin 2, they got to work with the original trio of controllable creatures again, but also two more that were discovered and added to the roster. The first being the white Pikmin. Found underground, these tiny lifeforms have become blanched from evolving with lack of direct sunlight. Their eyes are also bulbous and red, adapted to help see in the darkness of the underground, and also making them the representatives for the sense of sight. This increase in ocular capability also allows them to locate treasures under the surface, which they're able to dig out to help the cause. They may not pack the biggest punch, but they are the fastest of the bunch and have a unique defense unlike any others. They are highly poisonous. Able to withstand toxic fumes, they can damage and even kill an enemy who happens to ingest one, with multiple sacrifices in one go upping the dose and giving the potential to knock off even the strongest of foes. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where they are absent from the main campaign but show up in mission mode and bingo battle, in which their speed is needed to complete the missions quickly. The obtaining of their spirit is done through either purchasing from Beetle's tent for 1000 SP or battling on the Spirit Board. The white Pikmin are represented by a team of 13 tiny Kirbys, all in their alternate skin of being coloured white, bearing a similarity to the appearance of the spirits they're possessed by, with the Kirbys favouring of their dash attack being a reference to the prowess in speed that the white Pikmin display. The stage is the Distant Planet, with the soundtrack being the Forest of Hope, both of which are the basis for the Awakening Wood in Pikmin 2, the area where the white Pikmin are first discovered. Another stamina battle, the other course condition is for the floor to be poisonous, harking back to the poison immunity that these white Pikmin have. This immunity is also referenced in the reduction of poison damage you gain once you've won the battle and earned the spirit. Along with the white Pikmin found in the underground caverns in Pikmin 2 are the hefty and heavy purple Pikmin. These rotund creatures have adapted to survive the harsh environments of PNF 404 by building up body mass and displaying huge feats of strength. Weighing 10 times as much as any other Pikmin, they're also able to carry items 10 times heavier, making them essential for some of the weightier treasures strewn across the planet. Their biggest evolutionary tactic is being able to literally get the drop on their enemy. When one lands on an unsuspecting foe, they are able to cause significant damage and even squish them into defeat. Rounding off the theme of the 5 senses, they are flying the flag for the sense of touch because of the trichomes on their head, the small feel-like appendages growing out of their stems. Much like their underground dwelling cousins, their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where they too are omitted from the main campaign but instead cameo in the alternate gameplay modes. To obtain said spirit, you can either battle them on the World of Light, on the spirit board, or purchase them from the Vault Shop for 1000 G. In battle, they have a team of 10 tiny Donkey Kongs as their avatars, all of which are displaying their alternate skin of purple tinged fur, in keeping with the Pikmin's coloration. Their added condition of causing damage upon falling is a reference to the way purple Pikmin can pound into a pulp those who they are thrown at. Both the course and the background track, being the Distant Planet and the Forest of Hope respectively, are the basis for the Awakening Wood, an area in Pikmin 2 where the purple Pikmin can be found. As with all of the Pikmin spirits, this is a stamina battle, however previously the health was set at 10 HP. This time, it's 20, reflecting the hardness and toughness of the purple Pikmin as they're able to take a pounding in battle. When the tiny Donkey Kong team have been beaten and the spirit acquired, you'll be able to enjoy an ability of increased weight, in keeping with the increased weight the purple Pikmin have. When the Mantle of Exploring was picked up by the trio of Copites in Pikmin 3, the original blue, red and yellow Pikmin made a reappearance, along with 2 new additional Pikmin. Breaking from being named for their coloration and instead about their features, the first of the new additions are the pixie-esque winged Pikmin. Once the team free the onion from the trappings of an arachnoid's web, they're able to command these mini pink flying creatures in a whole new way of gameplay. These diminutive pink coloured Pikmin are in fact winged, and because of this they can traverse obstacles and terrain with much more ease, usually able to take the direct route when carrying items back to the Drake, as they simply elevate over anything in their way, and are able to follow the leader over chasms, water and other areas which would usually present difficulty to other Pikmin. Though they may be weaker in battle, their lighter bone structure that enables them to fly also benefits their survival, as like punching a balloon, they're able to take an impact and avoid being crushed, when others may face that fate. The artwork for the spirit is from the winged Pikmin's first appearance in Pikmin 3, and it can be obtained from the World of Light, the Spirit Board, from the Vault Shop for 500 G, or by scanning the Pikmin amiibo. The spirit battle consists of fighting against a team of 12 tiny Jigglypuffs. This pink Pokemon is able to support itself in the air, making it the perfect representation for these Pikmin, and with Jigglypuff's alternate costume of having a flower behind its ear, it also bears visual similarities to the floaty pink Pikmin with their blossomed flowers on top of their heads. The enemy team's favoured aerial attacks are akin to the aerial attacks that the winged Pikmin make in the original game, and the inclusion of the screw attack item giving the player the opportunity to experience the briefest sensation of flight also. The whole battle takes place on the Garden of Hope stage, with the music being from the same course, a level from Pikmin 3 where the winged Pikmin were introduced. Another time stamina battle to show the little time and health of the Pikmin and their world. Once defeated, the acquired spirit gives you the ability for floaty jumps, so you can be more airborne, much like the winged Pikmin. Finally completing the roster of Pikmin is the second new addition to come our way from Pikmin 3, that of the Rock Pikmin. They gain their name because they quite simply look like rocks. And this hardened outer epidermis is the source of their unique abilities. When happened upon in the Garden of Hope, it's seen that their onion is encased in crystal, and upon hurling their hefty bodies at it, they're able to smash the structure and free their home. This battering ram style of existence comes in handy navigating the planet to get through the crystalline obstacles that are found, used perfectly to finally free Brittany from her enclosed area after crash landing, and also to break the outer armour of many of the native fauna. They're also resistant to blunt force trauma, being replanted into the ground as opposed to being killed, and are also immune to being skewered by the needle-like attacks from certain creatures. Though they carry a lot of bulk, they're not considerably heavier, and actually retain a lot of agility that other Pikmin have too. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, their first appearance, and it's obtained via battling on the spirit board, purchasing from the Vault Shop for 500G, or by scanning the Pikmin amiibo. To liberate the spirit in battle, you must defeat a team of 8 tiny Kirbys, all of whom are in their alternate skin of a grey coloration, the pallor of which is similar to the Rock Pikmin's appearance. The course condition is for an increase in gravity, with the opposing team having floaty jumps. All of this, combined with the Kirby's fondness to use their stone ability, add up to an experience of simulating the Rock Pikmin being able to be thrown gracefully through the air before coming down with force on anything or anyone underneath. This stamina battle takes place on the Garden of Hope stage, with the music being of the same name, and this is because the Garden of Hope is where the Rock Pikmin are first discovered in Pikmin 3. Once obtained, the Spirit's ability is for an increase in weight, mirroring the destructive force of the Rock Pikmin as they come crashing down on their armoured foes. Of course, life on PNF 404 isn't all just about controlling Pikmin and making them your personal courier service. It's a harsh environment filled with terrifying creatures that have evolved to survive the varying climates and adapt to their surroundings. One such creature makes a significant impact to the world of these games, being featured in every title and even making the box art cover to Pikmin 1, that being the Bulborb. These large rounded animals, running on 2 short legs with a wide mouth and eyes on stalks, have found themselves in every corner of the world, with several different variations evolving to suit the conditions of that space. They are the most prolific enemy in the game, with the most common being the red-spotted Bulborb. Belonging to the grub dog family, as it looks like a cross between a grub and a Hokkaitan dog, its scientific name is Oculus kagayami russus, and it gets its common name of Bulborb from the discoverer of the species, Captain Olimar, who named them due to the similarities to his own pet dog, Bulby. Usually found sleeping in the day, they'll attack and defend themselves if awoken, stooping down to scoop up mouthfuls of Pikmin who haven't yet escaped, and are seen at night as the captain's spaceship and onions leave the planet, their true nocturnal natures coming out, mopping up any remaining Pikmin who weren't transported away. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where they return as voracious as ever. Though being the Kopite's first experience with the monsters, they're able to take them down effectively. Their lack of arms meaning that swarming them from behind will cause significant damage, as well as throwing any Pikmin to attack their eye stalks, all whilst making sure to whistle them out the way when the Bulborb gears up to attack. Its spirit is obtained via the World of Light, the Spirit Board, or by purchasing it from the Vault Shop for 1000G. Taking place on the distant planet stage, with the main theme of the original Pikmin playing in the background, both alluding to the Bulborb's first appearance, the player faces off against a giant red Yoshi, who in this instance shares an aesthetic similarity to the Bulborbs in question. The foe's increase in attack power just goes to show the threat the Bulborbs present in their home world, and the preferred usage of Yoshi's egg lay move mirrors the Bulborb's main method of attack by attempting to eat their opponent. A timed stamina battle whittling away at its health whilst fighting the clock, much like in the original game, one must take care to avoid the actual Bulborb that makes an appearance as a hazard in the stage, waiting to lap you up at any opportunity, and watching on as its spirit goes to battle. Bulborbs do not simply appear, however, they must be birthed, and being of an insect-like family, it's shown that they are spawned from the Empress Bulblax. First discovered in Pikmin 2, these grotesquely colossal creatures remain in their underground cavern, producing Bulborbs to populate the planet. Their abdominal structure is the powerhouse to keep its species alive, and has been seen to give birth to live young that instinctively know to immediately go on the offensive against the Pikmin. Going by its scientific name, the Oculus Matriarcha is unable to attack like others within its family, and the Empress's only mean of defense is to shake off whatever may be latched onto it and then roll around from side to side, hoping to steamroll anything that is unlucky enough to be caught in its path, or to crash into the sides of the cavern to cause boulders to fall from the ceiling. Several are encountered throughout the game, and each can either be taken down after very careful planning, or have the possibility of destroying your entire Pikmin army in one mammoth roll. The spirit artwork is taken from its appearance in Pikmin 2 and can only be obtained by enhancing the Bulborb spirit at level 99, the natural progression for the Bulborb's life cycle. The spirit's ability of greater stats after eating is very akin to the Empress's exponential growth after being constantly fed to maintain her baby Bulborb making machine. The Empress Bulblax isn't the only creature to be holding a royal position. That honour is shared with the Oculus Supremus, more commonly known as the Emperor Bulblax. This gigantic grub dog made its first appearance in the first Pikmin game as the gargantuan final boss. Able to hide due to being somewhat camouflaged with its moss-covered back spotted with the odd fern and lodged rock, it springs out of the ground, startling those around, and goes after its prey by either crushing it underfoot or lapping them up with its gigantic slobbery tongue, dooming the Pikmin to a digestive death. This unfettered gluttony, however, can prove to be its downfall, as it's unconcerned with what it eats, including bomb rocks. When one is swallowed, the resulting internal explosion stuns the Emperor for a short time, leaving Olimar a chance to command his armies to attack the face, the only vulnerable area, since the back is heavily fortified. Upon defeat, it spits out the final missing piece from the SS Dolphin, the secret safe, restoring Olimar's cache as he leaves the planet to fly back home. These creatures make a reappearance in Pikmin 2, where their spirit artwork is from, this time much less formidable. They are found in underground areas, and perhaps this cave life is what's caused them to be slightly weaker. Maybe they are only juveniles at this point, since they are much smaller with much less health and don't have the adornments on their back like their predecessor. Regardless, they can still pose a threat and can be dealt with the same way, with the added option of poisoning them by having them eat a white Pikmin. To obtain their spirit, you can either earn it from the World of Light, off the spirit board, or by buying it from the Vault Shop for 6000 G. They are represented by a giant King K rule in his alternate coloration, now resembling that of the palette of the Emperor Bulblax. Both the spirit and the fighter hold royal titles, and both are the big final bosses within their respective games, with the King's belly flop move mirroring the Emperor's attack of body slamming into unsuspecting Pikmin. The course condition of the foe having super armor is a reference to the Emperor Bulblax's resistance to most attacks being only partially vulnerable. The battle takes place on the distant planet stage, with the background track being the main theme from Pikmin 1, both of which tie back to the Emperor's first appearance. Upon defeating and equipping the spirit, you have ice floor immunity, since you've gained the ability to withstand the slippery battlefield caused by the slobbery tongue of the Emperor trying to lap you up. There are a lot of theories of where and when the events of the Pikmin games take place, and I'll be looking at them in detail in a separate video, but the most startling thing that arises are the possible evolutionary lines that take place to create creatures we encounter on PNF 404, with one odd specimen being the Burrowing Snagret. A member of the Snavian family, it's a cross between a snake and a bird, with the Snagret name highlighting its snake-like body and its egret-shaped head. As may be concluded, they do indeed burrow and will pop up out of the ground at a moment's notice to peck down on their prey, the Pikmin. They are unable to move from where they've emerged, so there is a slight tactical advantage, but they are formidable when coming in to eat up whoever may be in their path. First encountered in Pikmin 1, it's best to aim the Pikmin army at its head, the most vulnerable spot, since its body is covered in protective scales, a tactic that follows it throughout the games, including Pikmin 2, from where the spirit's artwork originates. To obtain said spirit, you need to summon it by combining the cores of Raphael the Raven from Super Mario World 2 and Rattly the Rattlesnake from Donkey Kong Country 2, once again showcasing the unholy mashup of bird and snake. Once summoned, you can then earn it again by battling it on the spirit board or purchasing it from the Vault Shop for 6000 G. In its spirit board battle, the Chiropodys anacondae, to use its scientific name, is represented by a giant Charizard with its alternate skin of a blue coloration. On top of fighting this giant blue-coloured reptilian creature with a long neck, the spirit creature makes a cameo as an assist trophy during the course of fighting, burrowing out of the ground as it's known to do and attacking you relentlessly. All of this takes place on the Garden of Hope stage, which in Pikmin 3's mission mode holds the most number of burrowing snagrets to be found in one place, with the fight's background music being the world map from Pikmin 2, a reference to the origin of the spirit artwork. The Pitfall item makes an appearance throughout the fight, burying you in the ground if hit by one, mirroring how this creature tunnels up out underground, and it's this observation that also lends the spirit's ability of a reduction in speed, since the Burrowing Snagret's movements are restricted in the game. In the events of Pikmin 3, whilst on search for the crucial cosmic drive key, the trio of Copates come across data files from a certain Captain Olimar. Erroneously believing Louie to be the captain upon first discovery, they later learn that Olimar was last seen at the formidable oak, climbing atop the stump to investigate a shining golden object. When Alph, Brittany and Charlie manage to find their way there, they discover Olimar in a deep state of spacesuit-induced protective sleep, and it's when they begin to transport him back to the SS Drake that they discover their biggest challenge to date, the shape-shifting amorphous blob known as the Plasm Wraith. This nondescript creature has a somewhat unknown maternal connection to Olimar, hunting him down to squirrel him away and take care of him. This overprotectiveness comes in the form of relentlessly pursuing the team as they attempt to navigate the warren of the final level, and then morphing into different obstacles targeted to wipe out droves of Pikmin in one go. The Wraith can become a giant pool of flames, a watery orb, a ball of electricity out of reach by flying too high, or surround its vulnerable cubed core in crystal. Each barrier is suited to be overcome by one specific type of Pikmin, and when it reforms into its generic shape, it's able to pick off the creatures individually, as it can reform its body to its whim. However, its malleability is also its downfall, as when attack clumps come away and once charged at, they disintegrate, leaving the main body smaller and more vulnerable. Once worn down enough, the plasm dissipates and the golden cubed core dissolves, leaving behind a now awakening Captain Olimar, who hands over the cosmic drive key and cueing the final flight away from PNF 404. Being the final boss of Pikmin 3, this is where the spirit artwork is drawn from, and it's obtained through a summoning, combining the cores of Hakon from Sute Hakon and Eddy from Fluidity Spin Cycle. Hakon is a blob-like entity who is able to suck in different coloured blocks into its body, much like the Plasm Wraith in absorbing Pikmin and people, and Eddy is a water spirit who is able to transform his body into different states such as rain and ice to overcome challenges, much like the spirit's ability to adapt for the attack. Once obtained, the spirit's ability is a decrease in speed, as it's seen with its slow-moving pursuit within the final stages of Pikmin 3. Sus Draconis, more commonly known as the Fiery Blowhog, are another creature to bring trouble to the respective captains and their crew. First encountered in Pikmin 1, these hog-like animals have the ability to breathe fire. Not a problem for the red Pikmin, but possibly fatal to anything else caught up in its path. Olimar must navigate past them, or tackle them head-on in the Forest Naval stage, as they stand idly by some of the major crossings, waiting for the opportunity to attack. They make a reappearance in Pikmin 3, where their spirit artwork is pulled from, and they are relatively easy to take down, as long as the correct strategy is implemented. By surprising them from behind, you can knock away a lot of health by dropping them with rock Pikmin, and then swarming them with the reds will ensure the attacks can continue while staying protected from the possible fire stream they emit. To obtain their spirit, you must either battle them on the spirit board or purchase them from the vault shop for 500G. Their representatives in battle are 3 Charizards coloured grey, matching the hue of the Blowhog's skin. The course condition for the foe's favouring of neutral specials, i.e. Charizard's flamethrower, mirrors the fire spouted by the fiery Blowhog in-game, and with the inclusion of multiple fire flowers on the course as well, things can get very heated very quickly. The background track is the mission mode from Pikmin 3, highlighting the game their spirit artwork was taken from, and the battle takes place on the Great Cave Offensive in its battlefield form, which bears a striking similarity in themes to the Forest Naval, the stage where the fiery Blowhogs are first encountered. When defeated, its spirit gives you an increase in fire attack power, once again showcasing the fiery Blowhog's fiery blowing abilities. Despite the many foes and bosses encountered throughout the games, there is one which is considered the toughest and most lethal, and it's likely you may never encounter it. In the distant spring in the first Pikmin game, there is an unhatched egg, and it's only there for the first 15 days, after which it's gone forever. If you're unlucky enough to come across this within the first fortnight of play, it'll hatch, and out emerges the relentless gaseous monstrosity known as the Smoky Progg. Incredibly resistant and difficult to take down, the main tactic for survival is to simply run away. However, it will unrelentingly make its way to the landing site where your spaceship and onions reside. Once it's arrived, it will begin to pluck any planted Pikmin out of the ground, and instead of giving them a chance to enjoy their newfound life and wonders of existence, it will extinguish their fire of life by poisoning them in its gaseous entrails. Where it came from? Nobody knows, and why it's only around for the first 15 days? Nobody knows, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on your calendar to ensure you miss this appointment. In Smash Bros, its spirit artwork is taken from the only Pikmin game it's made an appearance, the first, and is obtained via the very first encounter in the World of Light by battling on the spirit board or purchasing it from the vault shop for 500G. A black costumed Mario takes charge to host this spirit, as his alternate outfit coloration matches that of the colour scheme of the Smoky Progg. The choice of Mario as representative is more for function within Smash Bros than to do with the spirit itself, as it's the adventure mode's first battle and makes story sense to have Mario, the first fighter, as your first foe. Regardless of incongruity, Mario is able to turn metal throughout the course of the fight, increasing his defense and durability, reflecting the Smoky Progg's difficulty to defeat. The background music is from the stage select of Pikmin 2, which I have to admit is an odd choice since the Smoky Progg doesn't make an appearance in that game. However, the stage itself is of the Distant Planet, a battlefield modelled off a course from the first Pikmin game where the Progg made its first appearance. When finally taken down, the spirit awards you the ability to start any battle equipped with a Unira, an item which damages the player upon contact, much like the Smoky Progg in its natural habitat. The Pikmin's perils aren't just confined to the ground, they have to be wary of what dangers are above their head as well, and one of the most annoying is the Swooping Snitchbug. Introduced in the first Pikmin game, where its spirit artwork is also taken from, these members of the Scarpanid family would swoop down, as their common name suggests, and snitch, or steal, up a couple of Pikmin before throwing them aggressively into the ground. Even though this wouldn't kill them, it would render them out of commission as they had been replanted, until eventually they get replucked by the player character to return to the action, this time stripped of the maturity of their flowers however. By timing your throws to catch them as they swoop, or sending yellow Pikmin to the lofty heights to latch onto them, you can bring these bugs down to the ground and swarm them, giving no time for these snitches to receive any stitches. By battling them on either the World of Light or the Spirit board, you can gain access to the spirits, as well as purchasing them from the Vault Shop for 500G. The Swooping Snitchbug's representatives in battle are 4 pits, clad in green, sharing both the wings and colour palette between each other. Whilst avoiding the swooping of pit, you're also having to avoid the Boss Gallagher items that are spawning. If caught in its raid, they will lift you up into the sky and out of the course, the same way the spirit bugs will take you away into the air. All of this action happens on the Distant Planet course, with the main theme from Pikmin playing in the background, all tied in with the Snitchbug's first initial appearance. If you manage to avoid being carried away and can ground all 4 pits, the spirit is yours, and its accompanying ability is to reduce your landing lag, as fighting with it you've learned how to avoid its terrible swooping much more effectively. Not every creature encountered on PNF 404 is out to harm the Pikmin and any intergalactic spacefarers who happen to be exploring. Some are very docile and can actually be a benefit to you from interacting with them. One such is the Iridescent Glint Beetle. Closely related to the Iridescent Flint Beetle, this particular bug seems to be gold-plated in appearance, leading to its scientific name of Pili auricus. Auricus deriving from aurum, Latin for gold. Only ever encountered in Pikmin 2, they will burrow out from underground and proceed to run around the course in a sporadic zigzag manner. Any idle Pikmin will give chase and attempt to wail on it, but to no avail. It's not until you throw one of the tiny critters and land a direct hit on the beetle's back that it rolls over and drops a precious piece of cargo. This could take the form of pellets to increase Pikmin population, nectar to bring about instant flowering, or ultra spicy spray to help invigorate your armies to run and attack faster. Once its resources are exhausted and it has nothing left to give, it will go back underground and hopefully rest, accumulating its goods again, waiting to tease any passerby explorers with the prospect of profit. You can achieve its spirit, the artwork of which is taken from Pikmin 2, by battling it in the World of Light or the Spirit board, or by purchasing it from the Vault store for 1000G. A golden Squirtle is the choice of representation in battle, its golden colouring obviously matching that of the Glint Beetle, but also being able to run around quickly with a shell on its back is very similar to the fast-paced, carapaced antics of the spirit we're trying to acquire. It's a timed stamina battle, much like how there's only a small window of time to get everything you can from the Glint Beetle before it disappears, and the other course condition is for the foe to be avoiding conflict. This means the majority of the match is chasing after the gold Squirtle as it runs away from you, similar to how the bug would try to steer clear of any offensive maneuvers in the game. All of the running around takes place on the Distant Planet stage, with the music playing being the Forest of Hope, both of which become the Awakening Wood in Pikmin 2, where the Iridescent Glint Beetle can be found. When you've managed to finally wear it down, the Earned Spirit gives you an ability of sticky floor immunity, as the sticky floors only serve to slow you down, but the Iridescent Glint Beetle knows how to keep up a pace with nothing holding it back. The Pikmin planet's ecosystem employs a lot of varied tactics to ensure survival of a species. Some will attack for sustenance, others will attack out of spite, whereas some will attack out of defense of their young. This is the case for the yellow Wollyhop. First encountered in Pikmin 1, these frog-like creatures will hang out by bodies of water, keeping their skin moist and remain stationary, unless any Pikmin were to come too close. This is when it utilises its main mode of attack, using its powerful leap to jump up high into the air and body slamming into any creatures below, killing off what comes close by. If left alone, it won't make any moves to come and attack, but rather remain where it is. That's because it's keeping vigil over its eggs. In the water are the Wolpoles, the tiny spawn of the Wollyhops, and in order to ensure their survival and growth, the parents must keep watch and come down hard on any predator that threatens their babies. Their spirit artwork is taken from Pikmin 3, where a number of them can be found in the tropical wilds by a pool where their young are also swimming about. Taking them down is easy enough. Bombard them with heavy Pikmin and make sure to call out any that happen to be underneath it when it's in the air, lest they get crushed to death. You can achieve this protective parent's spirit by battling it in the world of light, via the spirit board, or purchasing it from the vault shop for 1000 G. Your opponents for the ensuing battles are 3 King DDDs, all in their alternate outfit of a green robe, reflecting the green back that the Wollyhops have. Both King DDD and the yellow Wollyhops are able to float briefly in the air, and the favouring of the Super DDD jump being used is a mirror of the way the Wollyhops will attack by jumping up and slamming down on their foe. The stage the battle takes place on is the Distant Planet, referencing its debut in Pikmin 1, with the background music being the Garden of Hope, a stage from Pikmin 3 which features the Wollyhops in their native environment. Once the battle is over, you gain the spirit and with it a resistance to strong winds, much like how the yellow Wollyhop is resistant to any type of air pressure as it's able to leap and suspend itself in mid-air whilst priming for an attack. Whilst avoiding the yellow Wollyhops, one also needs to keep an eye out for a creature which is much more on the offensive foot, or rather claw, that of the Peckish Aristocrab. This animal, a cross between an onion and a male fiddler crab, has one giant claw encased in armour that it uses to pincer up Pikmin to snack on as it scuttles its way through the water. Naturally, rock Pikmin would be the best choice to destroy the carapace, but because of its reluctancy to leave its aquatic habitat, this poses a risk for the rock Pikmin to drown. So a tactic can be gathering your blue Pikmin to collect bomb rocks and use their explosive force to destroy the hard outer shell, attacking the softer innards and eventually bringing it down. Whilst you're attempting this, however, be aware of the foaming from its mouth, as the bubbles can trap unsuspecting Pikmin and cause them to float away, rendering them useless for the fray. Its spirit artwork is from Pikmin 3, where it made its first appearance, and it's obtained through the spirit board, or purchasing it from the vault shop for 1000 G. In the spirit battle, you're facing up against a giant Ridley. This clawed monster, now blown up to a giant size, and in its alternate skin of a brighter purple with green wings, all bear a resemblance to the Peckish Aristocrab, from the claws to the size to the coloration. Ridley favours using its side special attack, the Space Pirate Rush, mimicking how the Aristocrab will attack with its claws and traverse in a side-to-side motion. Both the background music and the stage are the Garden of Hope, an area in Pikmin 3 where the Peckish Aristocrab appears. And the creature even makes a cameo itself as a hazard on the course, keeping its beady stalky eye on whether Ridley is doing a good job or not. Once the spirit is obtained and equipped, you gain an increased weakness to electricity, due to it being a crab living in water. It and shocks don't mix well. The final spirit in the Pikmin series is of an enemy that hasn't made an appearance in any of the core games, but rather debuted in the spin-off for the 3DS, Hey Pikmin. As Olimar traverses this brand new planet in search of Sparklium to refuel his spacecraft, he and his new Pikmin friends can encounter the Mockiwi. This little yellow ball of fur with a wide beak and 2 tiny vestigial wings may look like a real-world kiwi, but are much less friendly, attempting to take down your Pikmin any chance they get. Luckily, they are easily beaten, and overwhelming them with a crowd of diligent fighters will eventually snuff them out. Just make sure to get out of the area before more appear. Its spirit artwork is taken from the game it debuted in, and it's obtained from either the spirit board or purchasing it from the vault shop for 500 G. The Mockiwi's representative in the fight is a giant Pac-Man. In its standard skin, with the large, round, yellow body, wide mouth and darker feet, It resembles a Mockiwi quite accurately. In this stamina battle, you're joined by a CPU Olimar, giving a callback to the Hey Pikmin game when it was just Olimar and the Pikmin taking on the Mockiwis in their native habitat. The stage is the Garden of Hope, which bears a resemblance to the Brilliant Garden, the first area in Hey Pikmin where the Mockiwi can be found, and the background music is Over Wintry Mountains, a stage that appears later in the game which also has the Mockiwi doing the rounds. There's no effect gained from this spirit, just the knowledge that you've made some Pikmin a little bit safer, at least for the time being. And those are the 24 spirits that were featured in the Pikmin series in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, only 1,479 to go. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know if you enjoyed this in the comments below and start nominating which spirit you would like to see next. And make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any further updates. But for now, my friends, luck and more to you all, and catch you next time.